welcome to Absent Mind, Dyslexia Stories, episode 3. I'm your host Rachel, and in today's episode we are going to talk about the internet information about dyslexia. So yeah, I have made a little script on my phone, so again, in case you may wonder why I keep looking down, it's because I'm reading off my notes. So let's jump into what I have to say. I always have to write something down just in case I might get a bit of a stutter and lose track and go off in a daydream. Because that always happens with me, most things I'm afraid. So, with most of the information I found on the internet, it displays only one factor of dyslexia, and not displaying a range of it. For example, in my case, letters do not jump around on the page or flip around, like a B turns into a D. Again, looking back, that I never experienced that at all. B's do not turn into D's. I think I may have covered that already in a previous episode, I'm not sure. But that was never the case. I am getting part of this information throughout the rest of the internet and points off Wikipedia. I will quote a few things occasionally, from time to time, and I will mention where the quote has came from. So, continuing, when I read a certain amount of times, I start to see lights and darkness flooding around text, and if I continue to read it, it irritates my eyes. Yeah, it is something hard to explain. If I read some text, black text on white background, that can be a bit strong and a bit of a hassle. Also, white text on the black background, that's a bit more painful to read. The more I look at the text, the more it starts to get a bit hazy and makes me feel a bit woozy. Black text on white background, I start to see a black haze hovering around the text. It just... fuzz, that's the best way to say it. After a while there's a bit of fuzz hovering around the text. For white on black backgrounds, it's a bit of a white glare. I think it from computer screens to paperbacks, it's slightly significantly different. On screen it's a bit more of a glow, on paperbacks it's more of a fuzz. So yeah, black text on white background creates a fuzz, white text on black background, yeah, that creates a fuzz as well, and a glare. And yeah, like after a minute and a half, I need to stop reading and rest my eyes, because it's just, yeah, once again it makes me feel woozy and dizzy, and I need to stop. So yeah, observing the Wikipedia page on dyslexia, and I quote, Dyslexia is categorized by difficulty with learning to read fluently and with accurate comprehension despite normal intelligence, which is correct. Continuing, this includes difficulty with phonological awareness, phonological decoding, processing speed, orthographic coding, auditory short-term memory, correct. Language skill, verbal comprehension, yes, and or rapid naming. Now I wrote down here, This quote I do agree on in my own personal experience, and to explain a subject... Sorry, when I read I get extra tongue-tied. Personal experience, and to explain the subject of rapid naming, it is a task that measures how quickly individuals can name aloud objects, pictures or colours and symbols. Yeah, I need to scroll up. So, for example, if you was to present to me an object, like say a clock, I will need to tell you that it is a clock within a matter of a second. So, present to me this. This is a phone, a mobile phone. I know it, obviously, but yes, again, if I struggle, then I would have a problem with rapid naming. I did have this problem when I was little, but now I can tell you this is a phone, and I can tell you over there it's a clock. Again, I quote from Wikipedia. In early childhood, early symptoms that correlate with a larger diagnosis of dyslexia includes delay in speech. That is correct. Little reversal or mirror writing. In my experience, I had mostly a problem with really rubbish handwriting. I think this is more concentrating on the flip side of, like, a B could turn to a D and a D could turn to a B. Again, I didn't have this problem, so continue. And being easily distracted by background noise. I continue with my script. Again, this is a very relatable subject, and from what I can recall, I was really slow to learn normal toddler and young child skills. Yes, so I won't go into too much detail since I have previously spoke about this in earlier episodes, which is the introductional video. Again, I have never had any issues with back to front letters. Yes. I just had really bad handwriting. Obviously, I spoke about this previously. Yeah, if you was to look at my handwriting now, you would think that's a child of... I'm gonna say 13. Yeah, around 13, 14. But back then, well, yeah. Back then when I was a child, my handwriting was next to unreadable. I had several handwriting classes to get me up to speed. I hated that, but I think it's helped me in the long run. So, where am I getting here? So, what am I getting at this? Well, what you see basically on a Wikipedia page is basically 10 to 30% of what dyslexia is all about. It is indeed very narrow, but again, anyone could have written this, so it's really misleading to people who want to find out more about the disability. And yes, more text to read. So, reading up on the courses that the Wikipedia shows, and it shocks me. They have only displayed 3 points, and I'm going to try my best to pronounce these. Neuroanatomy, which is some sort of brain research. That's what I wrote. I had no idea what it was telling me. Yeah, I didn't understand what the devil it was telling me. Genetics, which means something to do with your family, that someone in your family that has dyslexia. Sorry, I got hair in my mouth. And finally, gene-environment interaction, which the wiki says research has examined gene-environment interactions in reading disability through twin studies, which estimates the proportion of variance associated with environment and proportion associated with heritability studies. Oh wait, sorry, heritability, full stop. Studies examining the influence of environmental factors such as parental education and teacher quality have determined that genetics have greater influence in supportive rather than less optimal environments. Instead, it may just allow those genetic risk factors to account for more of the variance in outcome, because environmental risk factors that affect the outcome have been minimised. Then I go on to say, this is all very interesting to read, but it is very narrow. Dyslexia is indeed a very mysterious disability, but what annoys me and confuses me is that why is it taking so long to research and find new information? Surely there are other dyslexic out there telling their stories. Their voices need to be heard. This also applies to other learning disabilities. No disability can be ignored. They are all mysterious and they need to be solved. And that's what I have left for my internet research. So, in the next episode we will continue with how I coped with dyslexia, and we will start off with academically. So, this will come to a close for episode 3. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed what I had to say or what I found over the internet. And I hope to see you all again in episode 4. I'll see you all later. Bye bye.